In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. After 18 years of marriage, I just found out that my children aren't mine. My wife Kelly and I have known each other for over 20 years and have been married for 18 years. We have 17-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and I found out that they aren't mine 2 days ago. My kids got those ancestry tests for the family and we found out that I am not their father. Kelly and I met each other as coworkers at a job right out of college. We both were very ambitious, so after working for a couple of years, we decided to start our own business. We fell in love, and a year after starting out business, we got married. A couple of months into marriage, we had a massive fight over the direction we wanted to take our business in, and I left our home. She came to me a couple of weeks later, and we compromised. We've been inseparable ever since. Kelly got pregnant around that time. We've been through thick and thin. Our business has been through several hardships, but we weathered them together. We were always there for each other. We could always depend on each other. I loved her so much. She was a part of me and I couldn't even imagine a life without her. I trusted her absolutely until this happened. Kelly has been crying and apologizing constantly. She told me that during the time we had that fight at the start of our marriage, she got drunk one night and slept with a random guy, and that she has not cheated on me since. The betrayal has left me disoriented. I told Kelly I needed time to process this and I'm currently staying at a hotel. I don't know what I'm even doing anymore. The last 2 days have been a blur. I feel like a zombie, completely unable to feel or process anything. I don't intend to abandon my kids. I might not be their father, but I'm still their dad and I love them dearly. Right now, I'm sitting on my hotel bed and I have not eaten anything today. My thoughts are a mess, so I'm writing this down to help me process. Kelly has always been a great wife and an excellent business partner. I don't know if I'll be able to look at her the same again or if I'll be the same person again. I don't know how to move forward. Update: after 18 years of marriage, I just found out that my children aren't mine. May 7, 2022. Thank you for the overwhelming response I got on my post. I just wrote it down to clear my head and get my thoughts in order. The day after my post, I called my children and told them I loved them. They were scared that I might leave them. I told them that they're still my children even though I'm not their biological father and that I won't be abandoning them. I just needed to think about my relationship with their mother. I saw several comments telling me that they're not my children because they don't have my DNA, but it matters very little to me. I raised them and they're my children. I spent time thinking about how to move forward with Kelly after that. I was angry that she hid the fact that she slept with someone else after we got married. I calmed down and really thought about the whole situation. I really wanted to call my lawyer to talk about separation, but I kept thinking about our life together, so I decided to talk to Kelly and give her a chance. I called her and went back home the next day. My kids were thrilled to see me and we spent some time together. Kelly and I went up to our room after that. I didn't speak to her properly since we saw the results. I gave her time to talk. Kelly told me that it had never even occurred to her that the kids couldn't be mine. She told me that when we had a fight early in our marriage, she was angry at me leaving over a business dispute, and after waiting for me to return, she went to a bar one day and got wasted. She picked up some guy and didn't remember much that happened that night. The guy was gone before she woke up the next day and she felt extremely guilty after that. She wanted to tell me but was afraid that I would leave her. To be fair, I was a hot-headed and stubborn guy back then, so I probably would have filed for a divorce without a second thought. To her, it was a drunken mistake that would never come out, so she didn't want to risk our marriage. And I would have never found out about it if she didn't get pregnant that night. She broke down multiple times and apologized constantly throughout the conversation. I believe her story. Kelly has been my rock and partner throughout my life and I wouldn't be where I am today without her. We trusted each other absolutely. This ordeal has made a massive dent in my belief in her as a wife, but I still trust her as a partner. We had long conversations about our future and I told her I was willing to give us a chance. I made it clear that we might not succeed and I might leave, but I was willing to try. I assured my children that no matter what happened with my marriage, I would always love them and be their father. We decided to give marriage counseling a try. My wife asked a therapist friend of hers and she recommended a counselor. We have appointments starting next week. As a lurker on this sub, it feels weird seeing my story posted here. It was a hassle logging back into this throwaway account after a year, but I wanted to post an update and advise that might be useful for people in similar situations. We are still together. Our relationship has been mended. I won't say it's like before because it never will be, but we are in a very good place. Getting to this place wasn't easy. There were days that I felt like I was wasting my time because I couldn't trust her anymore. But Kelly was very patient with me. Therapy helped immensely. Whenever I felt like giving up, my children were my motivation to keep trying. It was a difficult journey, but I am incredibly lucky that I was able to mend my relationship. This is my advice: you are not obligated to try and fix your relationship if you feel that it has been irrevocably damaged. I decided to try because I loved my wife deeply and trusted that she was telling the truth. We had been through so much, both in business and in our relationship, and I knew I had to at least try to save it. Even after you try, you will most likely fail, and that's okay. Also remember that people will judge. I made the original post to organize my thoughts, and I had people calling me a cuck and PSSY even a year later. I don't care about that, but you might. Story 2. My best friend told my husband I cheated, and he's leaving. I'll go right ahead and say the obvious. I deserve this. I'm the villain. It's all my fault. I know. But my goodness, I can't handle this. I'm posting here in the hopes that someone has advice on how to win back a betrayed spouse. Back in 2001, yes, 20 years ago, I was young and dumb and did something horrible. I had been with my husband for 5 years at that point. We grew up in the same hometown, part of the same friend group as kids, and fell in love in high school. We've been together ever since. After college, however, I got it into my head that my relationship was holding me down and stifling my self-expression. My best friend Julia agreed with the sentiment. Together we'd go out clubbing, leaving our boyfriends at home. We wouldn't do anything bad, but still there was a thrill to knowing that other guys were looking at us. Well, as they say, never play with fire. The more we partied, the more Julia would want to cheat. Eventually she started making out with other guys at clubs. And I'm ashamed to say that for a few nights, I did the same, dancing with guys and kissing them. I put a stop to this after a few such incidents. I felt disgusted with myself, with her, with these strangers I was kissing, and most of all I felt horrible about cheating on the love of my life. I told her that I couldn't hang out with her anymore if she was going to continue her cheating ways. She understood and she put a stop to it as well. Of course, all my moral indignation didn't give me the courage to actually fess up to what I did, so we kept it out secret. Skip 20 years later. I've hence married that boyfriend, and he's my husband now. We have 4 children. Over these 20 years, my best friend has practically faded out of the dating pool entirely. She has a successful business of her own, inherited from family, and she dedicates her life to running it. Her social life is essentially hanging out with me or my husband, and sometimes babysitting the kids. Well, it turns out that she has gotten so chummy with my husband that one night, in February of this year, she had too much to drink, and she ended up letting out our little cheating incidents back in the day. She didn't mention that I only did it 4 times, kissing 4 different guys in total. Understandably, she doesn't remember those specifics. She just remembers that she cheated for almost an entire year and remembers I was doing generally the same. To make matters worse, she said this while my oldest son was upstairs, and my son heard everything. I was away for the weekend with our 3 other kids, visiting my parents, and my poor husband had to calm my son down while also trying to make sense of what Julia was telling him. I never knew that the night I left would be the last time the love of my life would ever kiss me. I came home the next day and my husband sat me down and asked me point blank if I ever cheated on him. I could tell from the look in his eyes that he knew everything. I admitted that I had. He was so calm that it scared me. I was afraid for his well-being. He's usually so proud and charismatic, and that day he just looked serene, detached from our relationship, detached from me. He told me that he wants a DNA test on all of our children, which of course I agreed to, because they're his. He's the only man I've ever slept with. We waited for the test results for 1 week, and my son wanted nothing to do with me during this time. When the results came back, I thought that we could finally start on rebuilding our foundation of trust. I had all the energy in the world to put into our marriage, and to show my man that I was worth his time and his love. The day the results came back, he told me he wanted a divorce. We have been separated since March of this year. He has purchased a condo in the downtown area of our city. My oldest 2 kids spent 100% of their time there, while my youngest twins split their time with me and with him. He refuses to go to marital counseling. Our jurisdiction has a 6-month wait before a divorce can be finalized, and that expired in October. So as of October 23rd, I'm a 42-year-old divorcee with 4 kids, 2 of whom hate me, the others see me as the reason their lives were upturned. I cut Julia out of my life. I know this wasn't her fault. I know I was the one who chose to lie and I deserve the consequences, but still I associate my life's total ruin to her. I blame her even though it doesn't make sense. And just last weekend, one of my younger kids mentioned that Julia has been sleeping over at my husband's condo. I am incensed with jealousy and hatred for her and anguish at this whole situation. I need to win him back. This isn't how our lives are supposed to end. We have worked so damn hard to build our home and he can't share it all with her, while I rot out here in the cold. Even the thought of calling him my ex makes me want to shrivel up and disappear. TLDR, best friend and I cheated on our boyfriends 20 years ago. I married my boyfriend, and 20 years later, my best friend admitted to my husband what we did. My husband has divorced me now, after 6 months of separation. I've just received news that my best friend has been sleeping over at his condo. I have to win him back. I can't let this be the end of our love story. Update. Well, I did something I never thought I'd do. I unblocked Julia and reached out to her. We set up a time to meet for coffee at my mom's house when the place would be empty. We spoke for hours, though I can't say that it was like old times. I found myself stuck with a tenseness in my stomach. I realize I still hate her for what she did. I'll never be able to let loose with her like I once did, and that's a reality I have to accept. Anyway, reiterate the facts as she has told them. What were her intentions in telling my husband about my cheating? It was purely a drunken mistake, with no real rhyme or reason behind it. She doesn't even remember it happening. She just remembers my oldest son being very short with her the next morning and my husband later explaining what she had said. How did she behave with my husband after the revelation? My husband cut her off a day or so after I did. He did this because a few days after the incident, via text, she tried to convince him that she was drunk, confused. But this happened after he had confronted me, so he knew that it was the truth she had spilled. He wanted space from her because he associated her to all of my lies. How did she get back in touch with him after he blocked her? He didn't block her, he just told her to not contact him again. She promised to keep her distance from him and the kids. 3 months later, she reached out to him again because she has been getting help with her alcohol abuse, and she wanted to apologize for all the harm she did. After that conversation, they kept in touch. Why is she spending nights at his place? She's been finding it hard to stay at home alone during winter because of her old drinking habits, and wanted some company. She sleeps in the guest bedroom and obviously they don't drink together or anything. She apologized for the confusion it caused my twin daughters. I allowed myself to feel hopeful here. They're not together. This wasn't some grand conspiracy for her to steal him away. I still have a chance, but I had to make sure. Did she ever sleep with him? Yes. After the divorce finalized, they hooked up a few times to let off steam. She insisted that I shouldn't worry because they never tried to pursue a relationship. There's way too much resentment and baggage for it to work, and she doesn't think she's his type. There it is. I cried when she admitted this. She cried and apologized. I must have told her that I hated her 1,000 times. I really do hate her. I hate her more than I thought was possible. She knows how much I love him. She knows how much I need him. And yet she still manages to knock things over and out of place no matter how it hurts me. I told her to get out after that. I haven't blocked her again. She wants to be back in my life. But there's no chance in hell I ever want to lay my eyes on her if she's sleeping with the man I love. I know some women can swallow their pride and do it, but I can't. So that's where I'm at. At least they're not in love or running off to get married. I tell myself that he's just using her to try to fill a hole in his heart. I tell myself that letting off steam is not how anyone would describe meaningful sex. It's a physical reaction to stress and circumstance. But then I remember what she said about her not being his type. I wish I asked her if she's dating now or if he has his eyes on someone. I wish I wrote down notes on what I wanted to learn and express instead of just going in unprepared. My emotions got the best of me and now I'm here weeping again until my body hurts from exhaustion. This hasn't helped my obsession with the prospect of him moving on. All this meeting has done is humble me at the thought of him and her making love. I can't let this go on. I need to get him back before he falls in love with someone else. Given the new information I've learned, does anyone have advice on what to do? TLDR. Original post. Best friend and I cheated on our boyfriends 20 years ago. I married my boyfriend, and 20 years later, my best friend admitted to my husband what we did. My husband has divorced me now, after 6 months of separation. I've just received news that my best friend has been sleeping over at his condo. I have to win him back. I can't let this be the end of our love story. Update. Unblocked best friend and talked to her. She insists she didn't spill my secret intentionally. She isn't in a relationship with my husband, but she admitted to having sex with him after divorce was finalized. She mentioned that she isn't his type, which makes me wonder if he's about to enter the dating scene again. I'm burning with jealousy at the thought of that. Story 3. I'm completely lost because I just found out that my wife of 12 years has been having an affair from the police who called me in for questioning involving the assault of her lover. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't know if this is the right sub or even if I should be posting this, but I don't have a clear mind right now and I'm here to ask for some direction. I've been married to my wife for 12 years. We have an amazing 11 son. Until last night I thought we had a good marriage. I thought I was always really good to her. We have no money problems, no intimacy problems, and I have never taken her for granted. I honestly wake up every morning and thank God she is my wife. Now I don't know what to think. I got a call from my local PD as I was getting off work yesterday. They asked if I could come to the police station as soon as possible. I panicked. I asked if something had happened to my wife or son, but they said not to worry, just get to the station ASAP. When I got there, they put me in a room with a table and some chairs. They asked me my name, which I gave. Then they started asking all these questions about a guy my wife works with. I haven't seen or spoken to this guy literally since December 2019 at my wife's company Christmas party. The 2 officers kept asking me things like, how long have you known and how did you find out? The only answer I could give was, what are you talking about? After about an hour of this, I just stopped answering their questions and kept asking where my son and wife were and were they safe. We just kept going around and around until after about 2 hours on and off, because they would periodically leave the room for 15 to 20 minutes, then come back and start it all over again like some cheap cop show. The last time they came in, the cop handed me a tablet and showed me a video of my wife and the guy from her work having sex. I don't remember much right after that. I just remember screaming, "What the F is this?" over and over again. I had a full-blown panic attack right there in the middle of the police station. The police had a paramedic check me out and he said my blood pressure was something like 170 over 110. He wanted me to go to the hospital, but I refused and said I needed to find my wife and my son. After I calmed down, the officers explained that the guy in the video had been having an affair with my wife and apparently several other women. He had been found that morning in his driveway, beaten, raped, and set on fire. He was still alive but in critical condition, and they didn't know if he would make it. His wife had given them permission to go through his phone and computer, and that's where they found the video of my wife. They asked me where I was that morning and I told them the gym, then work about 10 minutes from my gym. At that point they said I could go, but that I might not want to stay at my house because they didn't know if his affair with my wife could be why he was attacked. They also said my wife wasn't the only person he was having an affair with. That's when I rushed home. My son was staying with our neighbors, so I got him and went home. We packed some clothes and his laptop for school. I grabbed my gun and we headed to my parents' house 45 minutes away. I still haven't heard from my wife. Her phone is going straight to voicemail. I've called the officer who gave me his card and he said she is at the hospital with the guy she's been cheating with. I am sitting here in bed with my son on one side of me and my .38 on the other. My dad is sleeping in his chair in the living room with a shotgun across his lap, and I've not slept in over 30 hours. I don't even know where to start. Anything would be helpful right now, any advice or ideas. I am in a fog. Update. I attempted to post this on Saturday 12/19th, but it didn't go through, and I got blocked from reposting because I asked a yes, no question. Anyway, here it is again. I am working a bit, so I may not be able to reply that much right now. My original post was removed, but a lot of people messaged me and asked for an update. I thought I would fill everyone in on what has happened this week, because the replies I got helped me so much. I really feel like I owe this community a big thank you for helping me get my head on straight and pointing me in the right direction to get everything done as fast as possible. For those people who said my post was fake, my only reply is I wish, from the bottom of my heart, it was. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. For those who said they couldn't find a news story, apparently due to the nature of the attack a lot of information was withheld. Even our local news outlets only reported it as an assault, and it was nothing more than a blurb on our nightly news. For those who implied or directly stated the police wouldn't do that, you are 100% wrong, because they did. I found out from my lawyer that police can literally do or say anything they want short of direct threats of harm. That includes lying directly to your face, which they did. It turns out my wife wasn't at the hospital with her lover when I contacted the detective. She had been admitted to that hospital's psychiatric facility much earlier in the day, while he was still in surgery. I don't know why they would lie about that, but they did. Needless to say, this situation has caused me to become very suspicious of law enforcement. After I woke up that afternoon, I contacted my uncle's law partner, who is a family friend. He actually came to my parents' house and sat down with me to go over my options. His entire law firm is now representing me, both in the divorce and criminal defense. That day he got me an emergency custody order and a protective order against my wife for me, my son, and my parents. Our court date is in 60 days. The police served her on Monday as she was leaving the psych hospital. According to her brother, who is a close personal friend of mine, she did not take it well. She is staying with her parents for the time being. I still haven't talked to her, and she hasn't made any attempt to speak to me either. Whether that's due to shame, indifference, or the order of protection, I don't know, but I'm glad of it all the same. My wife is not the person I thought she was, and I'm ashamed of myself for not seeing it sooner. I had to tell my son something, so I decided to tell him the truth, and literally the first words out of his mouth was, "Please don't let mommy take me away." I asked him why he would say that, and from what he told me, my wife has been treating him very badly when I wasn't around, and told him, if he told me, she would take him away and my son would never see me again. She has been emotionally torturing our son, and I was too blind to see it. That wrecked me more than the video, to be honest. I told the lawyer about what my son said, and he used my son's statement and her mental state and commitment to get the emergency custody. I have contacted his school for therapy resources, and he will start therapy after the first of the year. I feel like the worst father to ever walk the face of the earth at this point. As for our families, her parents contacted me Tuesday and asked to come see us. I was still with my parents at the time, and I told them they could come, but she was not allowed anywhere near us. They agreed. They were so apologetic, and her poor mother didn't stop crying the entire time she was with us. Her father was heartbroken and kept referring to my wife as that girl. They both said they felt like something was going on with her, and they did not raise her to be this way. We hugged and cried before they left, and I told them they will always be a part of our lives no matter what happens with the divorce. After what my son told me, their visit was the hardest part of our whole ordeal. My lawyers have been doing amazing work so far. They found out that the man my wife was sleeping with has a long criminal record. One of the lawyers informed me that when they went to print out the guy's arrest record, the printer ran for 5 minutes straight. From what they could learn, he is currently on parole for drug offenses and has had gang affiliations in the past. He is still alive but in critical condition and still may not make it. The firm has an investigator who contacted the coworker who drove my wife to the hospital. The coworker informed them that my wife's affair was an open secret around the office. My lawyers think that's how the police figured out who I was and who my wife was in the video. There are several photos of last year's Christmas party at her work, and my wife and I are in several of them. That's where I currently am in this whole situation. I am just numb, still lost, and heartbroken. How long does the numbness last, and is there any way to get past this emotional lethargy faster? I mean really numb, like a dream. Everything I've just said has felt like it's happening to someone else. Update 2. Sorry for the novel, but I just needed to vent and get this week off my chest. TLDR, found out wife was cheating from cops questioning me about the assault of the guy she was cheating with. Divorcing, now she claims she has substance abuse problems and asks for another chance. I feel like an idiot for not seeing it when we were together. I will start off again by saying thank you to everyone who replied to both my original post and my update. This sub really did help me so much. If I didn't respond to you directly, I'm sorry, but I got so many messages I can't keep up with them all. First, my son is doing so much better. He started therapy the first week of Jan, and the difference is already noticeable. I asked him if he felt comfortable with me talking to his therapist, and he said yes, so I've had a few discussions with her. According to the therapist, my STBX would verbally and emotionally abuse our son whenever they were alone together. He was not allowed to make noise or bother her in any way when he was home. She would leave him alone for hours on end, and even overnight if I was out of town. She would then threaten him with being taken away and never see me again if he told me or anyone else. The therapist said this has made him feel powerless and dependent on a time in his development that she should actually be feeling empowered and self-reliant. So to that end, I have bought him his own phone and helped him memorize family members' phone numbers and as many addresses as are relevant. I've also been teaching him situational awareness, to pay attention to street names and how to read addresses on buildings. We've also role-played how to ask people for help, how he can clearly explain to strangers that he's in trouble and he doesn't feel safe. I know this may sound silly, but my son can be a bit introverted and shy when he doesn't feel comfortable. Even though we've only been doing this for a few weeks, I can see that it's really building his confidence. Any suggestions on how to continue to build his self-reliance would be really helpful. His safety and well-being is still my #1 concern right now. As for myself, I'm doing as good as can be expected. I started therapy around the same time as my son, and although I don't speak to my therapist as much as he does, it has helped to be able to talk through my thoughts and feelings about everything that has happened to us and our family. The numbness is gone, but it was replaced by a white-hot ball of anger in the pit of my stomach whenever I think of my STBX and what she's put our family through. Funny enough, although I hate feeling angry, it's a lot easier to deal with than the numbness. My therapist says this is part of the grieving process, and it's not how we feel but how we channel those emotions that matter. My legal situation, well, I'll be honest, it's the scariest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. I was awarded temporary full custody and child support, as well as a continuation of the order of protection for myself and my son. At the request for an order hearing, the judge asked if we would allow supervised visitation, but my son absolutely refused. The judge asked my son if he would speak to him alone, and he agreed. The judge, stenographer, and a child welfare officer went into chambers with my son and met for about 10 minutes. After their meeting, the judge granted the temp orders and ordered therapy and psychological evaluation for my son. Luckily, the therapist he is seeing is somehow involved with, or accredited to work with the court, so he doesn't have to see another therapist. My lawyer said this is a good thing because it means his therapist can give a recommendation for custody. But it still scares the hell out of me that she could get some form of custody after what she put him through. As for the AP, I don't know much. From what my lawyers have gathered, he's alive but still in the hospital. I haven't heard from the police since my initial interview, so nothing new to report there. As for my STBX, I still hadn't seen her since the day I was questioned until Thursday. She has attempted to call me a few times, but I haven't answered, and when she called from another number, I hung up immediately. I have nothing to say to her, and I don't want to hear anything she has to say to me. Her lawyer requested a preliminary hearing for our court-appointed mediation. She was served the second week of January. She was there with her lawyer, and I know this will sound petty, but even with the mask she looked bad. My STBX was always an attractive and athletic woman. I swear in our wedding photos she looks like a supermodel, but now, well, she's lost so much weight it's disturbing. She looked sick and frail. She didn't even look at me, she just sat with her face down through most of the meeting. Long story short, everything they asked for was ridiculous. They wanted visitation during the divorce proceedings and shared custody after. They want us to drop the OPs. She wants to cohabitate until the divorce is finalized. It was so insulting that my head throbbed through the whole meeting. But it was all worth it for the big reveal we gave to her lawyer. Her lawyer asked how we should handle discovery for the division of assets, to which my lawyer got this shocked look on his face and said, "What division of assets? Read the prenup." The look on her lawyer's face was priceless. She hadn't told her lawyer about the prenup. My late uncle, who was the founding partner of the law firm I use, wrote that prenup and actually hired her a lawyer to look over it for her before we married. According to my lawyer, it's a thing of beauty because we never mixed finances. The house we live in was a gift to me from my uncle before we married. All the utilities and insurances are in my name. All the vehicles are registered in the owner's name only, and we never had to sign any debt for each other. We have one shared savings account that is used for household maintenance and an emergency fund. It has around $8,000 in it, which she has already drained. There is less than $300 in it now. The prenup states that all marital assets and debt are to be divided 50/50, and ownership of all intangible assets and personal debt reverts back to the individual who accrued it. The adultery clause simply states that we agree that if either party is caught or admits to committing adultery, they lose the right to claim any form of spousal support. There's a lot more to it than this, but my lawyer assures me that trying to break this prenup will be damn near impossible, because it is the most fair prenup he's ever read. But the last thing her lawyer asked for was what has really messed with me. He asked that we postpone the official mediation for 6 months while my SDBX attends an inpatient rehabilitation facility for substance abuse. Some people in both my last posts stated that she might have a substance abuse issue, but I didn't even think about it, because I couldn't even fathom that. I talked to my lawyer and he said that we would discuss it and get back with them about our decision on that. Before we left, my SDBX spoke, literally for the first time, and asked me to read a letter she had written to me. My lawyer gave me the "this could be a snake so be careful" look, and I debated with myself for a moment but decided to take it. When I got home I read it, and now I wish I hadn't. It started off with all those busted cheater platitudes that everyone warned me about. I love you, I love our family, I know I mistreated, and I hate myself for it, I want us again. But she did explain that after a major surgery she had about 2 years ago, she started abusing her medication. After a while she started buying them from some of the people she worked with, including AP. He became her go-to guy, and when she ran out of money she started sleeping with him to make up the difference. She said she hid this from me because she was afraid I would make her stop, and she couldn't feel right without them anymore. That he meant nothing to her but a fix, and she hates herself for doing what she's done both to herself and to us. Now she says she understands how awful what she's done is and wants to get better for our family, and asks me to at least give her some time to prove she wants this. Let me state, for the record, I will never get back with my wife. Our marriage was over the moment she cheated on me and abused our son, but damn, where the F was I while all this was going on? I just feel like the most naive, obtuse idiot to ever walk the earth. And furthermore, how should I approach this from here? Am I just throwing her away, or am I still justified in feeling betrayed? I feel like such a failure as a husband and a father right now. I mean, I feel nothing for her but anger and resentment, but is this how you treat someone fighting the demons she's fighting? I'm just lost and feel so hopeless again. Anyway, any advice would be much appreciated here. Story 4. How do I 31 meters move forward after my wife 30F posted nudes and sexted a guy behind my back? My wife and I have been married for 8 years. We have 2 great kids and what I thought was a near-perfect marriage. We had our second child about 8 months ago, and things have been great. The baby sleeps all night, hardly cries, and is just all around a great baby. Our relationship is better than ever, and my wife's sex drive has been through the roof lately. She's been feeling confident in her body again after the baby. She sends me dirty messages throughout the day, and we have sex 3-5 times a week for the past few months or 2. Last week she sent me a dirty picture, and I said something along the lines of "those are just for me," right, half joking, when she replied that she had actually shared that picture to Reddit. A friend of hers is a regular poster on the NSFW side of Reddit and is fairly open about it. My wife said she just felt sexy and wanted to show off. I was not super happy about this, as we had never even discussed something like this, and I had to go check Reddit for myself to see. I found out that she had been posting daily for the past 5 days, and interacting with some of the people leaving comments. This hurt me pretty bad. I felt like my trust had been betrayed. So when I got home that night we had a normal night, put the kids to bed, and had a real discussion about it. I stayed calm and told her how it made me feel, that I felt like my trust had been broken. She was very apologetic the whole time, cried and told me she understands, and how sorry she was, how good of a man I was for not leaving her, a lot of stuff like that. Now don't get me wrong, I was upset about the Reddit post she made in the comments, but I honestly didn't take it that hard, like I was going to leave my wife over that. And it just didn't sit right with me how apologetic and sorry she was over something that wasn't that bad. So I straight up asked her if there's anything else I needed to know. I feel like you're hiding something from me, and I promise not to be mad if you just tell me everything now. She very convincingly told me there was nothing else, that she had told me everything, it would never happen again. I forgave her, and we moved on, and had a great night. This was Thursday. We had a great weekend. I took her out on a date Saturday night. We spent all day Sunday together as a family watching Halloween movies. A very loving weekend. It felt good to have such a great weekend after what all had happened on Thursday. Cut to yesterday. The following Monday, I had to work late and my wife took the kids to have dinner at her parents' house. On nights like that I usually get home an hour or so before they do and I'm home alone. I had this feeling in my gut that there was more to what happened on Thursday I didn't know about, so I decided to look on our laptop just to see if there was something obvious. I checked her email, and when I looked in the email trash I saw a Snapchat friend had added her, and she had deleted the email, but only to the trash, not permanently. Whatever, no big deal, just a Snapchat friend request that just happened to be sent the day I found out about the Reddit nude she was posting. So I check her Facebook, she leaves it logged in all the time, and I see messages from a guy with the same name as the Snap friend. As I'm reading the messages I notice that parts of the conversation are missing, like they've been deleted. My heart dropped. I knew right then something had happened with this guy. When my wife gets home with the kids, I acted like nothing was wrong, calmly got the kids in the house and got them in bed. And I just asked my wife who the guy was. She denied it. Then I showed her the Snapchat email that was deleted, then the Facebook messages that were obviously deleted. And she just started crying. She told me everything. The guy was just some guy we knew from high school, who she had been sending memes back and forth to for months. Never anything sexual at all, until he saw her Reddit post. He had sent her a message about how hot she was, and she liked the attention. She asked him for pictures and videos of his dick. She talked dirty to him about how she wanted to suck his dick and have sex with him. She eventually told me that this had been going on since she first posted over a week ago. The worst part of all of this is the sexting continued even after our talk on Thursday, after she had apologized and cried and told me how sorry she was, told me how she would never hurt me again. Friday morning she is sexting this other guy while I'm at work. She had been texting him all the way until hours before I had found it on Monday. I honestly don't know where this would have gone if I hadn't caught it, and I can't help but feel like my wife is more sorry that she got caught than she is sorry she did this. I really just don't know how to handle this, what to do, how I can move forward with my wife, if I can ever trust her again. I don't want to lose my family, I don't want to lose my wife. She is my best friend, she is the one person I thought I could always depend on and trust. She tells me she wants to do whatever it takes to work this out, but I honestly don't know if I'll ever get over this. How do I move forward from this with my wife? I don't want to lose my family, but I don't know how to heal from this.